Hi, welcome back. So, what happened? How did you lose your father? How did he die? This part is really important because now we're going to get into how you see it. You have a story about it. For some people, Dad was in a car accident. Dad had cancer. Dad disappeared. Dad was in the war. Dad had kidney disease. Dad killed himself. Whatever is there for you in regards to what happened, that's what we want to work on, because we see things through a filter. I saw my dad's death as an opportunity to have closure and really be there for him and be a decision maker for him. My sister saw it as, wow, I've got nobody else to take care of me. My brother's like, this was my dad, and I also had another dad I don't know. And so he has some confusion around it. Everyone has a different story as it relates to what happened to Dad. And so this is a really good opportunity for you to look at how you're relating to him as far as his death, like what really happened. And you'll notice as you go through this, you may have a lot of facts or the action steps or what happened, and I'll tell my story in a moment. And then there's breaking down, but the truth is. So there's what happens, and then there's our truth about it. Well, what happened is, Dad killed himself and, left my mom with 6 kids. And so you have the facts, the story, right? And then there is, okay, but my truth about this is, because Dad may have killed himself and, now Mom's got 5 kids and she's living on her own and she needs support. But my truth about that is, I feel horrible for my dad. I feel regret that I wasn't there for him. I didn't even know he was that sad. And now I feel horrible for my mom, and I'm worried that she's not going to survive raising that many kids on her own. So now you start to see that we have a story about what happened, the events, the person, the people, the way things went down. And then we have the truth about how we're relating to it. And the two aren't the same. And what happens is we get caught up in so much of what happened, or how horrible or horrific it was, or how simple and easy it was, and it was a great death. But we got to get through that too. But my truth about this is, which means how I relate to it, how I'm feeling about it, what I'm taking away from it. So for me, I'll start it off. So here's the story. When people say, well, what happened to your dad? And it's like, well, he died of cancer, he died of heart failure. Literally on his 75th birthday, April 17th, I took him to get a shave, I took him to the barber, he got his mustache done, we got a new outfit and new shoes, and we're driving to a place called P.F. Chang's in San Diego to meet the rest of the family. And on the way there, I realized that him getting the clothes and the shave and the barber, which he's never asked me to do with him before, felt like this is his preparation for death. Like, this is his final outfit, and like, this is it. Like, a part of him knows that he's not going to be around. And so when we got to P.F. Chang's, he ordered a beer, and I've never seen him drink, and he had a huge chocolate lava cake, and he's diabetic, and that's a no-no. And we all took a family picture together, and he is just super happy. Oh, and I took him to get spray tan, because he's bald like me, and, he doesn't like being white, so I got him spray tanned. Never done that before. And just before we all got in the car to leave, he said, well, I don't know if we'll ever do this again. I hope there's many more birthdays. I'm hopeful, but, I don't know what's going to happen. And I hope, we can do many, many more. And then he got in the car and closed the door. And I looked at my brother and I'm like, and my brother was like, what was that? I'm like, I think that was the final speech. That felt like the final speech because I've never heard him communicate that way. And so we got home that night and, he's having some pain in his shoulder because the cancer left his lung and now it's in his shoulder. And so I gave him some pain medications and put him to bed. And the next morning around 9:30, I noticed he's not up, and 10 o'clock and 10:30 and he's finally up. And he said he was okay. Around noon that day, I was going to head out and do some errands for him. And he said, can you help me lie down on the couch? And, that's not something he ever asked. He never asked for help. It's like the 3rd time in my life he's ever asked for help. and I've never seen him lay down on the couch for like 20 years. And so I said, I'm going to be back in a few hours. I'll check in on you and make sure you're okay, but otherwise go to sleep. And around 4 o'clock I came back, and the whole room smelled like bronchitis, like a chest infection, and I knew something was up. And he said he was, a little bit more pain. And so I followed the medication regime, and he went to bed around 9. And through the wall, I can hear him breathing and coughing, and he's tossing and turning. And finally, he got up about 11 o'clock, and he's kind of hunched over in the chair. I said, "Where's the pain?" And he said, it's in my chest. And I said, "Is it normally in the chest?" He goes, "No, it's in the back." And I said, I'm going to call 911. Luckily, the paramedics is like walking distance, the fire truck. And they came over, and as soon as they came in, he's like, "Hey guys, it's me, I'm okay now." And I'm like, "What?" And his oxygen dropped to like 80, and it's supposed to be around 95, 99. And his heart was throwing a PVC, which is like skipping a beat. Something was off. But he seemed to normal out after about 20 minutes, and the fireman, the chief there, said, "You sure you want us to take us to the hospital? You seem okay now." He asked that like 3 times, and I'm like, it's almost like he doesn't want him to go. And he looked at me, and I said, "Mm-hmm." And so the paramedics finally came 45 minutes later, because we're way away from the city. And we got to the hospital, and they did some blood tests and ran their things, and 20 minutes later, the doctor said, "Yeah, your troponin levels are high. That's indication you had a heart attack." And 4, 5, 6 hours goes by. 7 in the morning, I said, "Dad, I'm going to be back. So I'm going to go home and take care of the dogs and let the huskies out, try and get an hour's sleep and change, and I'll come back." By the time I got back home, emergency room called 4 times. They said, "We're going to have to put him on a breathing machine, BiPAP, because he's not breathing, and we're going to have to put him in the ICU." So I called my brother and sister, and I said, "Dad's in the ICU. Headed to the ICU. They're just waiting for a bed, but you all need to come down." And when I got there, they noticed that his lungs were filling up with fluid, and he was struggling to breathe. And he can't go home. He's not in good shape. And so, I called a few nurses and doctors, and they said, "If he's on BiPAP, I just want to warn you that the next step is the ventilator, in which case he's probably not going to make it. But he doesn't have much time." So I called my brother and sister, and I said, "You need to be prepared. This is it." And they're shocked, because we just celebrated his 75th birthday. He just started radiation. He's almost done. They were going to start chemo. And we thought we had at least till Christmas, and it's still April, and into the ICU. And every day he got worse, but we finally battled through it, and we finally got him home. 5, 6 days later, even against the doctor's will, and 3 days later he passed away. But his vision was to die at home, not on a ventilator, and to not die in a hospital. And that's all that we could do. We couldn't save him, we couldn't fix him, we couldn't cure him. Every organ was shutting down. And he finally passed away with his family around him. That's the way he wanted it. And there was a time period in there where I was pissed at the doctors, because they weren't giving answers, they weren't looking for solutions, the oncologists weren't calling me back in the ICU, and I have to make all these decisions. And sometimes my sister and brother weren't helping, and I had to figure out the trust, and I'm the healthcare directive, and my dad's worried that he's not going to make it home, and no one was really giving me answers. So there's that side of it too. There's that frustration. There's what happened, and then there's how I'm relating to it. And how I'm relating to it is that although my dad and I had a rocky relationship, the one thing we did well together was play sports. And I was a pitcher and a successful entrepreneur. And so he knew when he made me power of attorney and healthcare directive that I would make every right decision, that I show up when it counts, because he's seen me do that repeatedly. In fact, in the hospital, when he was close to getting on the ventilator, and I said, "Pops, look, this is it. We can't do chemo, we can't do radiation, you're not healthy enough for it. Heart surgery's out, your liver's failing, your kidney's failing. The only thing that's working is your heart. Your lungs are starting to shut down, and your brain works. And if you want to get home, I just need you to do one thing. I need you to pee. We got to flush out all the fluids in your lungs, and that'll keep you off the ventilator get you back on oxygen, we can go home. And he peed like 5 liters that day, 5 of those big Coke bottles. And the next day we got to go home. That was his wish, and that's all that mattered. But after he passed away, I started noticing I was pissed off and angry that I had to go through all of that after everything I went through being his son. And then I started getting sad, and then I started getting lonely, and then I'm sitting in the house and he's gone, and it's like I'm so used to saying goodnight to him, and now that's gone. But one of the nights, several of the nights were transformational because the only thing there was to talk about was him. No sports. There's nothing else to talk about but to be intimate and vulnerable. And so what I walked away with was like, I totally got that my dad trusted me, and I never knew that my whole life. I got that he really believed in me. I didn't see that my whole life. And so I got to be present during somebody else's journey and fulfill a promise that I wouldn't let him die in pain or in the hospital or alone. And that's all that matters. So that's what happened, and like that's my truth about it. And throughout the videos, I'll go deeper into that because a lot more happened in that ICU than matters right now. But it was intense. It was scary. Like 7 days went by super fast, and they were unexpected. And it was his 75th birthday, and we didn't even have a chance to fight against the cancer or go to chemo. But none of that matters. His liver shutting down didn't matter. His kidney shutting down didn't matter. Everything falling apart. No solution but to keep him comfortable and give him pain meds and facilitate his death. But none of that mattered. It didn't matter. I couldn't get the doctors to call me back. No one was giving us answers. People weren't cooperating. The food sucked. None of that mattered. The truth is, I fulfilled my dad's wish. The truth is, he didn't get to die alone. The truth is, the most difficult relationship he had turned out to be the best 2 weeks of our life. The truth is, my brother and sister got 7 straight days to say goodbye to their dad and the grandkids. The truth is, he didn't suffer. The truth is, he got to die in his home that he left all his kids. The truth is, we made every right decision. Every doctor hugged us and thanked us for being so awesome that they're not used to seeing that. In fact, they're not used to seeing people leave the ICU. The truth is, we showed up. The truth is, it fucking sucked. And the truth is, I wasn't prepared for death as much as I was prepared. The truth is, there was times when I was lost and didn't know what to do. But all that mattered is keeping the promise. The truth is, there were times where I was pissed off that he made me trustee and responsible for everything. And then the truth is, I'm the best person for the job. So now you're starting to notice I'm not in the facts of what happened and how bad the disease was and how there's no cure for it and how the insurance companies wouldn't pay for it and how we ran out of money, all the facts. I'm in, here's my truth. There was weeks there where I would give anything to have him back. But the truth is, he's with mom and his mom and dad now. Truth is I hated being alone. Truth is, he left me this huge farm and I'm not a farmer. But the truth is, I learned how to farm and I know how to run a tractor now and do things that he really loved. And the truth is, it's actually pretty fun. Driving around 3 acres on a tractor. So now you're noticing I'm being truthful and revealed about how I see it versus getting stuck on how bad the cancer was and how there's no cure for it and how my dad smoked for 40 years and I told him to stop and he knew he was sick for over a year, almost 2 years, but he never told us. Now I could be upset about that, and I was for a few moments, a few big moments, but he protected us from worrying. So the truth is, he cared about us, and the truth is, he didn't want us to worry. The truth is, he lied, and the truth is, he held secrets, and the truth is, he was a total ass for it. But that doesn't matter. That's just how I feel. And my dad's who he is. And it makes total sense that he would keep it as a secret because he'd rather spend the last few years of his, life helping us and loving us rather than being the center of the problem. So the truth is, I'm much more at peace about it. And the truth is, I now get to remember the good and the bad and be at peace with it. So here's your assignment. And I want to just read what I wrote. What happened? Everyone has a story about it. From the moment you found out he was hurt, sick, or dead, till the funeral. Like, just share what happened. Somebody asks you, what happened to your dad? That's what I want to hear. And journal about it. Understand it gets messy. It's not going to make sense. We fear truth and finality. And that's what this is about. It's about getting comfortable with truth and finality. We fear getting lost in the mess, and if we go there, we're, somehow in quicksand. And, if you don't share it, you're going to get lost in it. Okay? So what happened? And then read it out loud, and then ask yourself, what's the truth about this? Truth is my dad died. Truth is he had cancer. Truth is he had a heart attack. Truth is he had a beer and a lava cake on one of the last days of his life. Truth is I got him spray tanned before he died. The truth is he wasn't alone. We were all there for him. Truth is we got to celebrate him. Truth is it turns out my dad was really, really funny and charismatic and loved by many, many friends that I didn't even know he had. So now I'm pulling out the truth because that's what matters. The facts of what happened, we get lost in and we think that matters. The timeline, the resume, all that stuff, the opinions about it, the doctors, the way it went down. But we have to be able to get that out and see that first before we can get to the truth about, this is how I relate to it now. This is what I get to be with. This is, my experience of it. And it's much more intimate and much more powerful. So do this action assignment, take as much time as you need, and then I'll meet you in the next video.